Hello, everyone. I'm Melissa McAllister, and you're listening to The Melissa Made Show. Now, for decades, I've dedicated myself to helping women break the cycle of dieting, navigate through all the fads, and change their lives through my nutrition coaching. Now, each week, I'm going to talk about everything from deep nutrition, mindset, self-care, the ideal workout routine, tips on how and why to implement intermittent fasting in your life, my favorite recipes that are not only crowd pleasers, but they're actually healthy for you, and so much more. Now, with small and consistent changes, you can defy aging while living a happier, healthier, and more heart-filled life. I'm so excited to show you it's possible with the right strategies that are so simple to adopt. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Melissa Made Show. So today I have Katy Whalen, and we were just talking. I always talk to my guests beforehand, and this is the best part of this is, I don't know that Katy and I would have ever met had it not been for this podcast, but we just had a conversation about our husbands, and I was telling her, I think her husband and my husband would really probably get along pretty dang good. And when I described who Mick was, she's like, yeah, I think so. So I love that about doing these podcasts. And so Katy is a pretty spectacular woman, and I think she's going to really speak to you guys when it comes to my audience. She is definitely your type of person, and you're going to learn a whole lot from her. But let me give her a quick introduction. Katy has had a long journey with working through infertility, miscarriages, IVF, and then even finally giving birth to her sweet little baby boy. Although totally elated with that, Katy felt fatigued, she felt hormonal, overweight, and disconnected. Searching desperately, she started learning about hormonal optimization and peptides, but they were so hard to get any kind of information on and to get access to. So Katy started Joy, and it's a place where women can find answers, manage their health holistically, and truly start to feel like themselves again. And guess what? They can even look better, which is just an added bonus. So it's so nice to have you, Katy, here. I'm very excited to talk to you. If maybe you would start and just kind of share your journey. I don't want to say your lowest point by any means, but obviously we have to go through some sort of trials, tribulations, in order to get to where we are, especially helping hundreds and thousands of women through what you went through. What did you have to go through to really be able to understand, to be able to help the women that you do today?
Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Melissa, for that awesome introduction. For me, it was about 5 or 6 years of a really rough fertility journey. And, thankfully I had both a son and a daughter. So I had my two beautiful babies. I'm so grateful for that. But after that, and after what I had to go through to get there, miscarriages and IVF and procedures and drugs, I kind of just looked in the mirror and felt like, who am I now? And I was also in my low 40s at that point. And I'm like, geez, it's harder now to get back in shape. It's harder when you also have 2 kids that you're looking after. Oh my God. So, I made a hard decision. Like, I got to do it. I know that I'm not going to be happy this way. And I know it's hard work and I like a challenge. So, I was up for it. But what really helped me was the access that I had and the knowledge that I got, because my husband had actually started Blokes, which is our men's version of our women's line. For men first, he went through his own kind of health journey before I did, while I was, having my fertility struggles. And so the first thing I did was check my labs and figure out what's going on? Why do I feel so bad? Why do I have this brain fog? Why am I so unmotivated? And I found out my hormones were imbalanced. Of course, after you give birth, there's so much going on. My thyroid was off. So I started working on it, and I started putting together little pieces, just one by one. The first thing I really did was testosterone and work on my thyroid. And then later I added on in peptide therapy. And I swear to God, I felt like I found something so amazing, because I actually went past my goal, which I didn't even think I would get. I was giving myself some wiggle room. I'm in my 40s. I've been through a lot. Don't kill yourself.
Right.
But I actually got to a place where I was pretty surprised about. And I just felt like when I got there, I was like, oh my God, like other women need education and access and just knowledge of like how to get here too. So that's when I decided, like, why are we just doing this for men? Like we need this for women. So that's when Joy was started.
That's exciting. And so many questions came out of that little blurb. But the first thing I want to ask you, because you talked about checking your quote unquote levels. And I know the audience is probably going, what does she mean by levels? Generally speaking, are there certain blood work that you have people go through? What is it that you're looking for? Is it very individualized, or do you have like this group of hormones or vitamins and minerals that you're looking for to see, why maybe women aren't feeling 100%?
Yeah. I mean, we really believe, first of all, in being proactive and digging a little bit deeper than if you would just go to your general doctor. They'll run a test or two based on whatever symptom you're having. So what we try to do is offer huge labs. We have 3 options, and one is very affordable for $99. It's a complete hormone, and it's like 40 something markers.
Oh, wow.
So it's way more than just hormones, but it covers all the basics and all your hormones. And then we go up to our biggest test is $599 and covers 77 markers. And that includes pretty much anything you could ask for. So inflammation, vitamins and minerals, kidney, liver function, all those things, also hormones. So for me, because I was lucky and had my husband go through this first, I got the big test, found out some things that were just obvious, like, the low hanging fruit stuff where you're like, oh, I need my, vitamin D improved. So either go out in the sun a little bit more or take a supplement, whatever. So those kind of like little things that you can adjust pretty easily.
Yeah.
But so that's what we believe in, like kind of checking everything every once in a while. It's easy to like get a baseline. It's easy to get a picture and then work on things from there.
Yeah. And I really feel like stories are the most relatable. And I don't think I have ever, and I know I haven't. So this is the first time I'm sharing this story. I have always had, because, you talk about testosterone for women, and I have always had low testosterone. Like I think in my 20s, I remember it being 12 or 13. It was just really super low. And it has been my whole life. And in my 30s, and I think in my 20s, I tried a cream. Didn't feel, this is a long time ago though, didn't feel a big difference. In my 30s, I tried the pellet. Again, didn't feel much of a difference. I found an anti-aging doctor here in the Texas region. And he wanted to put me on where I would shoot myself in the butt once a week. And I did it. And at my 6-month checkup, Katy, I don't know if this will blow you away, but it blew me away. I went from, I think it was at 16 to 750.
Whoa.
When I got that lab work, I about crapped myself. I'm like, do I have facial hair? Have I grown a goiter? Has my voice lowered? I was panicking, and I went to that doctor, and his answer was, how do you feel? And I'm like, well, I feel fine. He's like, well, don't worry about it. I'm like, I don't think so. I think that's too high for a woman. So I tried to self-regulate a little bit, and it was very difficult. So I just ended up quit taking it. And it's funny how fast it drops back down. So I'm back down into the teens. And that's probably testimony to you that you really need to work with someone that can, that's there for you to really help you manage and find that sweet spot for you, because that was, my hormones are great, being almost 50 years old, my thyroid's still pumping like a champ. All of my sex hormones are fantastic, except my testosterone was a little low. And so I thought a little boost would be great. I didn't get a little boost. I got a ginormous man-sized boost, and it scared me. So I pulled away. But can you talk a little bit about the importance of testosterone for women? And despite my story, not to be scared of it, because it can be very, very good for you.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, I'll tell you, like, I've never been one to be able to build muscle, and I've always worked out. But so when I first got on testosterone, mine was very similar. I think I was at a 14 when I first started getting on it. But I just slowly felt like a more motivation. And when I was working out in the gym, I could start to see like tiny little, get little improvements and feel stronger, lift heavier weights. And so I got really excited. And for me, it was just like, something that just made me more motivated to do more and have more energy and all that kind of stuff. Obviously libido, it helps with that. And, that had tanked after giving birth as well. So that was helpful.
Yeah.
So I find myself, I really feel good, somewhere in the upper 100s. And, our medical advisor will say it ranges for women. It's very dependent on how you're feeling, but somewhere around 100 to 200 is generally what she sees as good. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised that maybe you didn't feel bad or didn't have any symptoms there.
Well, I will tell you, Katie, that I did hit that sweet spot, because on that process of getting up, and it was a very short amount of time, because it was, I was like, nope, done. I can't, that's too much. So I wasn't even up there long enough to, I don't think, but I did go from the, 16, between the 16 and the 750, there was because he asked me, he says, what are you looking for? And I said, well, I would love to continue to build muscle mass, stay lean, and improve my sex drive. And he says, testosterone, which 100%, he wasn't wrong. I did find this and my sex drive, Katie, I always joke to people that if my husband could have it 3 times a day, I'm good with 3 times a month, and there's just this huge spread for us. But being on testosterone really helped me I felt it. I was like, oh, I feel this sexual energy that I normally don't have. So I did get a positive dose of that. But then your testosterone can obviously get too high and you lose it again. So then it went away again. So if I can find that sweet spot, it was fantastic.
Yeah. Yep. Sounds like you maybe were just on too high of a dose too fast. So I mean, literally I do think people get scared of hormones. And one thing I will say is that the amount that we take is so small. We don't need that, high levels of any one hormone. It is important to be very balanced. And when you compare what we do for hormone replacement therapy with taking the birth control pill, it's about 1/5 of the dose of what's in birth control. So it's a very small amount that you should be taking if you have the right guidance. So it's not really that as scary as it sounds.
Yeah, not at all. And it's no different than fat. We've had these studies come out that, put things in a scary light, but all of the facts weren't there. When we talk about the 7-country studies with, fat and how it, causes heart disease, and the women's study and all that stuff, that just makes such mass media that people get implanted in their mind. I can't have fat. I can't do hormone replacement. It's bad for me. It's going to shorten my lifespan, which is the absolute complete opposite of what it does. And thank goodness, both technology has gotten better and we've gotten better at educating people in the right way that hormone replacement therapy is fantastic for you. Katie, can I ask you, in your experience, for women that are like, well, I don't know if I need to test my hormones and stuff, maybe the symptoms that they have, we talked a little bit in your introduction about some of the symptoms that you had, but what are women feeling if their hormones are off?
Yeah, I think generally, so what happens usually sometime in our 40s or maybe even before that is our first thing that goes is progesterone. So that starts to take a dive. And when that happens, we see a lot of women with anxiety or can't sleep at night, waking up at, 3 a.m, tossing and turning with those thoughts that won't go away. So progesterone is our calming hormone, our mood hormone, and the other thing that I find pretty fascinating is that they say that SSRI, antidepressant use doubles for women in their 30s and 40s or 40s and 50s versus 20s and 30s. So I find that to be like, a big wake up symbol, like, before you fill that prescription, maybe check to see, if it's a hormone issue, if it's a progesterone issue, because that is in general what happens to most women. And then when our testosterone in general is very low for women, especially those that have taken birth control pills or other medicines which affect it. Stress decreases our testosterone, not, working out or eating a healthy diet will decrease your testosterone. So that's again, like we said, low libido, not being able to build that build or maintain that muscle mass, brain fog.
Mm.
Testosterone is actually a very good whole body anti-inflammatory hormone. So that's good for that. And then when we get more into our 50s, that's when we really lose the estrogen. Our ovaries stop producing estrogen. And that, honestly, like estrogen, I feel like that's like the lube of our life.
Yeah.
It really helps with our skin health, keeping away those wrinkles and keeping our collagen going. It helps with our brain health. It really can decrease your risk of developing Alzheimer's or other brain degenerative diseases. It helps with our cardiac health, which is the number one killer in women is cardiac disease. So it lowers that risk by keeping, your blood vessels and everything healthy. And then also your bones. It helps lower your risk of osteoporosis. So anything with estrogen is, not the hot flashes and the middle weight gain and all those kind of things. And it's just really, we love testing, but you don't always have to test because for women, it's all symptom based. And so, yeah.
That's one of I heard this, I don't know if it was a quote, I guess you could say a long time ago. And I thought it was so sad, but it's so spot on is, once us women are done with our reproductive years, Mother Nature is done with us. It's like, okay, you're not a productive part of society anymore because you can't reproduce. So that's when your body just starts to deteriorate, which you start to lose the hormones and you start to age and you start to not feel your best.
Mm-hmm.
But thank goodness for technology because we can kind of hack that whole idea of, once, you go through perimenopause and you're not, of childbearing years anymore, that you can still have those hormones and things like peptides that can help keep your body running optimally to where it still thinks that you are, and you don't really start to decline like Mother Nature intends you to because you're worthless.
Yeah, that's awful. I mean, I feel like women just like are hitting their stride, like we do so much. And like, especially when we have babies later, it's like that, like you need to take care of your babies. You need to advance in your career. You need to start like building your community. Like there's so much for us to do. And I think it's up to everyone to do what they want and own their own journey and decide what's right for them. So I'm not a pusher of hormone therapy, but I believe that it really will make our life more vital, not only like longer, add longevity, but just make it, that much more fulfilling for us to do something for ourselves finally.
Yeah, totally. I was just today thinking about, I can't remember what it was. I love you've got a Def Leppard shirt on for my that only listened to the podcast. She's wearing a Def Leppard shirt. But I was thinking about 30 years ago, and I can't remember the reason why I was going back 30 years. And then I thought to myself, gosh, that was so long ago. I was in my late teens. And then I thought, but I'm sure I've still got 30 years to go. Here I am 49 and I know I've got at least 30 more years to go. So there's so much life to still live. And if you are in your 30s or your 40s or your 50s or even your 60s, and you're not feeling the best version of you, there's ways to make that happen. Of course, we talked about this beforehand. There's your lifestyle. You really got to take a look at your stress, your eating habits, your sleeping patterns. Are you hydrating? Are you, surrounded by really good people in your life? You get all of that, as best as you can. There are still so many things that you can do, including hormone replacement, checking all of your levels. I mean, gosh, you could just be low in vitamin D, and raising your vitamin D levels could have profound effects on how you feel. But I'm curious for you to start sharing with me a little bit about maybe the peptides that you fell in love with that helped you exceed your goals and feel your best, and kind of what you guys offer there.
Yeah, the first peptide I started on was semaglutide, which I know you've talked about on your podcast. And I think you have an ebook about it too, which I need to read. I started on that because I gained 70 pounds for each pregnancy and didn't really lose it in between. And then, so that was a game changer for me for sure.
Before you go on, I would just love to talk about that in and of itself. I don't think I've had anybody on the podcast that has, gone through that journey. Can you tell me a little bit about, for people that, I mean, my dad's on it, my sister's on it. And I heard, and this could be a misquote, but I heard that they intend on it being the most prescribed drug of all time. And I've heard, there's people on either side of the fence, of course, as there always are, when it comes to, I don't care if it's a supplement, I don't care if it's a food, I don't care if it's a medication. There's always two sides to the story. But there is a lot of positive with helping people, lower their A1C and helping them manage their diabetes. And also I heard the other day that it's actually, they're finding that it's good for the liver. So your personal experience for somebody that's never been on it, maybe is considering it, maybe a little bit scared of it, because you do hear that it makes you nauseous. Like it took my sister over 2 months to actually start losing weight on it. Took her until her 3rd month to start losing weight. So I'm just curious your own personal experience with that, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, no, not at all. I'm pretty open about all my peptide use. I think for me in the beginning, I felt a little bit nauseous, but I've always been okay on it. I can tell you from patient experience that I do think the tirzepatide, which is the compounded version of Mounjaro,
Okay.
shows less nausea from what we're seeing. But there is Swiss semaglutide, a little bit of nausea in the beginning. I feel like people also with other issues have more like autoimmune issues it just is like your body's working through some stuff. So I've seen that too. So it can take people several weeks to a month or so to like work through those kind of like icky side effects, not like having low energy and that kind of stuff. But for me, it was a little bit of nausea, not much at all. But I never really took that much of a dose. You start off on a small dose so your body can get used to it. And I never had to go up that high because, I was doing all the other things too. I was, watching what I ate, making sure I ate enough, prioritizing protein, making sure to keep the bowels going. That's very important on these medications because it can slow your digestion and bowel movements. But so for me, it's been really a great experience. And then I did switch to tirzepatide because I own this company. I wanted to try both.
Me too.
So now that I hit my goal weight, I will tell you I'm on a very small dose. I take a microdose every other week now, just to help with the like food noise. Honestly, I feel like one of the coolest things for me is I used to like be obsessed with salty snacks. So like French fries were it for me, or like a bag of chips. Oh my gosh, I could eat a whole bag of chips. And when I was stressed or when whatever was happening, I would let myself do that. But now I have like really no interest in that. Like I won't even order French fries when we'll go out to dinner. If my husband orders some, I'll have like a couple and I'm like, that's good. So I really enjoy like that freedom of like not obsessing over wanting bad food. So I make better choices, which is nice.
Have you tried countless diets, but you're still seeking your nutrition sweet spot? Are you trying to get results on your health journey to feel your best without being too restrictive? Now, I know how you feel. I've done the diet thing, but there never was that one that totally worked for me. And this is exactly why I developed the MAID diet. Now, I found that rather than restrictions, it's best to have a set of guidelines that allow you to customize based on your preferences and bio-individuality while staying on track with your health and fitness goals. I found the nutrition sweet spot. And as a health and nutrition expert, I get asked all the time what, when, and how I eat. And as someone who's passionate about education and helping others, I want to share that with you. Now, the MAID Diet ebook lays it all out for you, taking the guesswork out of dieting. The MAID Diet is a lifestyle plan that incorporates moderate protein, adequate fat, decreased carbs, and an introduction to intermittent fasting. The ebook gets right down to business by answering your most frequently asked questions. It includes thoughtfully designed recipes and a 7-day sample meal plan to start you off right. It will honestly kickstart your weight loss journey and have you losing inches in your very first week. Now, intermittent fasting combined with these nutritional guidelines is honestly the piece that so many people have been missing when trying to get results. This ebook has all the information you need in a format that is condensed and to the point so that you can get to your results. If you're ready to get started, the MAID Diet ebook is available immediately on my website for just $9.99. So head over to melissamadeonline.com/made diet to take action towards feeling your best today. And once you do, oh my gosh, please let me know it's working for you. I am so honored to be a part of your health journey. Okay, back to the show. Yeah, that's I had done a podcast with my good friend Dr. Lauren, who used it as well, and that was her exact same scenario. She used food noise. That has to be a very freeing feeling, because there is some addictive components to some of these ultra refined foods that when you're trying to change your lifestyle and you've constantly got something just tapping on your shoulder saying, but you want this, but you want this, but you want this. It's very, very difficult. And I do think that is one of the very positive effects of that, is helping people get rid of that noise. So they're like, wow, I can enjoy a party. I can enjoy an outing, an experience without it being all about the food,
Right.
and instead the conversations, or all the other things that you can do. Go watch a movie without wanting that popcorn so bad, and that's the best part of the movie. And the best part of the movie is probably the movie, to give people that freedom. So I do think that's really, really cool. So you started with that, and it helped you obviously take the weight off. Were you on testosterone during that? Because obviously one of the downfalls is that it can create, because people don't eat enough, and especially protein, and they don't, because they're not eating as much, they may not have as much energy to really push hard in a workout. Were you taking testosterone at the same time to help preserve and to also build muscle? Is that something that you can do? You can put those two together?
You can. And I was on testosterone first.
Okay.
So when I started, I was on that. And I don't really want to get off my testosterone. I like it so much, but I do also make sure I eat enough protein. I'm also on I think you need to lose weight slow. I don't think you should up the dose to where you don't want to eat. Like, I think it's very important to keep a low dose, and you should still have an appetite, and you should still eat, however many calories is right for you. So, but yeah, I do both, and it's safe to do both together.
And again, I've got, I think 1% of my podcast listeners actually watch the YouTube video. She looks 30, you guys. You do. You look so young.
Well, you look 25. I kind of want to ask you about what you do with your skin.
I appreciate that. I probably should do a podcast on that alone, but I'm very, very lean. I mean, I'm very upfront about it. I think, I'm like 13 or 14% right now. And I do get very gaunt in my face. So I probably have more filler in my face than I actually have fat. So I will be honest there. There's a lot of filler there. But moving on from just semaglutide or semaglutide and testosterone, what other peptides have you personally used and that you offer? And can you kind of explain each one to give people like an overview of what's available, how it's helpful to, and even if, you can talk about the husband side as well, because, Mick's got great libido, like I said, but he's, between you and me and my, thousands of listeners, he's going to kill me. He's managed to get himself a little bit of a dad bod, and he keeps telling, but he did injure himself, but there was past tense. We need to move on. And he keeps telling me, I'm going to get on it. I'm going to get on it. And he's struggling more at 50 than it was always so easy for him to get that off. And it's not easy anymore. And I'm empathetic a little bit, but at the same time, I'm like, because it's always been harder for me than it has been for him. So I would love to know if you can even share a little bit for the wives out there, or the women who have partners that might be in that same situation, that, building the muscle or losing the weight or having the energy, or even, keeping that libido up. What's available out there?
Well, one of my favorites that I am on, and then I also recommend to all my girlfriends, is the growth hormone releasing peptide, which I know you've heard about. We typically combine sermorelin with ipamorelin. And so I'm on that myself, and it can be either an injection or a troche, but I really prefer the troche. So I take that and just dissolve it in my mouth before I go to
Okay.
bed.
Huh.
And yeah, so what that does is when you're sleeping, it tells your body to make and release more of its own growth hormone. And that
Mm.
is, more muscle mass, and it's helps reduce fat, helps you sleep deeper, helps you have better recovery. I find that when I get off it, when I cycle off it, like I get so sore after workouts that I can't work out for like several days after. So I really enjoy that like recovery part of it. So I can do more workouts every day.
Yeah, and not to cut you off, Katie, but that's, for the listeners, I want you to hear her mention that it signals. So peptides are a signaling molecule. It signals your body to create its own hormones. You are not taking exogenous hormones, like you're not taking human growth hormone.
Right.
There's side effects to that. You are taking just something that says, hey, why don't we produce a little bit more of this? Because obviously as we age, we lose that. So it's just a signaling molecule. So continue.
Yeah, I love that. No, perfect. That's beautiful. You know what? We also just launched another peptide called the Mood, which I'm pretty excited about. And that's another troche, which is really helpful for libido, and it combines a few things. So it combines PT-141, which I'm sure you've heard about, which really just helps in your brain get that desire going.
Yeah.
And then it combines that with oxytocin, which is
Ooh,
like our bonding love hormone.
yeah.
And the last thing is tadalafil, which is like the generic form of Cialis. So it like increases blood flow. So this is for men and women. So sometimes it's the guys that have the low libido, but a lot of times it's the women too. So you just take this troche, dissolve it in your mouth, and then it stays in your system for up to 72 hours.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's kind of a fun one. My husband and I like to, if we have a weekend without kids around us all the time, we'll take it, and it just kind of helps get that going a little bit. Makes it more fun.
It's like having a glass of wine. I mean, really. And I was this might be, you don't have to answer this TMI, but is it something that you would take together? I mean, this is so terrible. But I was talking to somebody ironically about mushrooms the other day, and how, people, I've never done one, but you'll get together and, as a group, you'll just take it and you'll all kind of chill together. And I'm just, for women out there who are like me, I have a low libido, but would it be great for, if us, Mick and I had a weekend away, that we both just, took something like that? Or would you really only give it to someone who has a low libido?
Question. I mean, I think it's fun to do together, unless someone's like, I don't know. You might have to tell us if your husband has a crazy libido. You might have to say, no, it's too much. Don't do that. I think my husband are fairly well balanced now together and feel about the same way. So we enjoy taking it together. It kind of gives us that extra like motivation.
Yeah. Yeah. So great. I see. Absolutely. I mean, it's almost like taking, like I take melatonin, gummies, CBD and melatonin gummies together. And I was at I don't know if you've ever heard of one of these. It's called here in the Dallas area called Stretch. It's kind of like a place where you get a massage, but instead of massaging you, they just do deep stretching. And so I went there because I wanted to try it, because I got my son some for Christmas, I think, because he's the tightest little guitar string there ever was. And he had some THC type gummies, which again, I'm such a lame-o. I've never done marijuana. But he said it does help with sleep. So anyway, I started without telling him, that's probably really bad. I started giving him just a little tiny quarter of it. And the very first night, the next morning, he goes, man, I was really tired. I was watching the TV and it just started going, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I'm like, oh, it works. But my point is that he's not a good sleeper. And it really helped him. And still to this day, not every night, but he'll take a quarter one of those and then just the melatonin and CBD, and he sleeps so well, which makes me so happy. I would so rather him take something like that and have a really good night's sleep than to just try to muscle through it. And I think that's kind of like, what these peptides can do as well. They're getting so scientific and so good that you can really pinpoint things that you could just use a little bit of help on.
Right.
it's like having a spotter at the gym. You're still doing the work. You're still lifting the heavy weight, but you've got the spotter here, which could be the peptide that, kind of helps push you to get just to that next level. So continue on about what else you have. So
Yeah.
excited.
The other one I love is GHK copper peptide. Have you heard of that one?
I haven't.
That's I generally we sell it prescribe it as a face cream or a skin cream. So it's super regenerative for skin. It has like cellular turnover. It's great for wound healing.
Oh, wow.
If someone has a surgery or something, it's great for that. But I use it nightly and in the morning after I wash my face. And I will tell you, I have several women, patients, girlfriends on it. And 1 week in a row, I got 3 people messaging me saying, it's time for my Botox. And I looked in the mirror. I was like, I don't need it right now. It's like extending time in between Botox. So it's a really great one for skin. But I am also now playing with an injection form because just doing some research on it, it has a lot of really other great tissue regenerative benefits. So to be determined on that. That's not something we offer yet, but I call myself the chief peptide tester because I like to try these out and see before we allow them. I have to give them a good go. But so that's a really good one.
I love that. And if you ever need more guinea pigs, you know where to reach, who to reach, which is now that's the secret of your skin, obviously. Do you guys offer melanotan? Have you heard of that peptide? Do you offer it, and have you ever tried it? And if you know what it is, can you explain it to other people?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I feel like, so we have prescribed it. We don't do a lot of it. We've gotten mixed results. So that one, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was that made based on, they were trying to help with libido in men or something. And then the side effect was it tans your skin. So I haven't tried that myself, but we have prescribed it. Some people really like it. I had a girlfriend that was like, I felt like I looked gray, so she stopped taking it. So it's not something that I've done that much or know too much about, but I do think some people enjoy it.
I listened to a podcast on different peptides. This was years ago, and they were talking about melanotan, which is what made me perk my ears, because I know a lot of, I believe, like fitness competitors use it because it has, the crazy thing about peptides is, they're touted for one thing, but they really do a whole lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. It's almost like, for instance, if you were to take a folate this is a nutritionist to me, you take a folate supplement, then cool, you're getting the folate, you're getting the B9. This is great. But if you eat a food that's really high in folate, you're also getting a ton of other, antioxidants, and you're probably getting other vitamins and minerals. And I think peptides are kind of that way too. It's touted for one thing that it does, but it really does a lot of good things. And so the melanotan, which, what piqued my interest most about it was that, and I live in the sun, so I certainly don't need to be more tan, was that it thickened the skin. And I thought to myself, that sounds gross. But as you age, your skin thins. And so I think that it has the potential to thicken your skin in a positive way that keeps it from becoming, the crepey, like translucent skin where we were watching Titanic last night. We were watching that sweet old lady in the very beginning, and Mick's like, wow, she's really old because she's got that translucent skin. And so, it's just, I wonder if something, I would love them.
I'm going to look into that now because you've piqued my interest on that. I hadn't heard of the thickening part of the skin. So yeah, that would be great.
For us older ladies that, if there's or if they, obviously they're taking it and they're tweaking it and tweaking it because you can really just, I'm sure the future is, bio-individual peptides where you just have this is what I need. And so they can create compounds that are just for you. And speaking of that, do you agree? I always tell people, I remember when I was first, so long ago, I started trying the CJC, it was $12.95 and I put more, such fancy words. There were people that were thinking that I was taking some sort of steroid or, some muscle enhancing illegal drug instead of, I'm like, have you ever heard of a collagen peptide? Very similar. It's a peptide. But it is very regulated. And I don't think from what I've read, and this did come from the podcast, he was an expert in the field, but it was years ago, that it's not because they're dangerous or they have these tremendous side effects. It's because they actually work so good that the pharmaceutical company wants to hold on to them and doesn't want to make them more mainstream, because then they obviously lose revenue. So they're so good that they keep it very great. And I'm sure there's other reasons as well, because people can obviously overdo them. We're very good at overdoing things. But in your research, or when you guys really started looking into these, what's your take on why it has to be prescribed as opposed to being something more over the counter?
Well, I think having it prescribed allows it to be better regulated and allows that to be under doctor supervision, and have, the compounding pharmacies have these, regulations as well. So I don't think that's a bad thing.
Mhm.
But I do worry that some of the peptides that I really like will be gone in the future, because they are pretty healing. And I think that there's this big, I think big pharma does not like compounding pharmacies because they can make, their own things. And so I do think there's a rub there, unfortunately, that I wish would go away, but it's probably here to stay because big pharma has so much power and money. So I hope that we can keep exploring with peptides, and I hope that they really become more of the medicine of the future, but I don't know how that'll play out.
Yeah. So can you just kind of walk a listener through whether it be your husband is Josh,
Yeah. Josh.
whether, they go in that direction, or with you and Joy, kind of how the whole process goes. What's it like to work with you and your husband in that process of bettering ourselves?
Yeah, we're very entrenched in the business. So it's pretty easy. We're online, we're telehealth. We started this, during COVID. Um, so we have you sign up online and do the health history forms, the consent forms. And then if you want a lab, we'll either send you to a LabCorp request to get that done, or we can also, for a small upcharge, send a nurse to your home, which is pretty cool. And then we'll have a follow-up appointment, go over results, see kind of what you're interested in, what your goals are, any symptoms. And then, from there, have the prescriptions, have the peptides or hormones prescribed and sent to you from a compounding pharmacy.
And are there any states where are you located? And are there any states that you can't?
No, we're licensed in all 50 states. My husband and I live in Nashville, but and we have employees in Colorado and Omaha, but we're licensed in all 50. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So I was on somebody else's podcast yesterday, and I actually believe his name was Josh too. And he ended his podcast with this is how I always end my podcast. And he asked me this question. I said, I'm stealing this. I said, I will give you credit the very first time, but from that point on, I'm going to steal it like it's my own. And he said, you're more than welcome to. But I thought it was a really great question when I have the pleasure of interviewing somebody. Is there anything that we haven't talked about today that you would like to share to the followers, to the listeners?
I would say that it's just so important for women, especially in our 40s, to really take a step back and own our own health journey, because I think what has worked for us in the past may not work anymore. There's so much going on. And I think it's just a really great time or inflection point to say, like, what do I need to change lifestyle wise? What do I need to pay attention to so that the rest of our years can really be great ones? So that's what I would say. Own that journey and make necessary changes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so profound. Can you share where everybody could find you on social media, websites, all that good stuff?
Yeah, of course. I'm on Instagram a lot. That's Joy Women's Wellness. And we spelled Joy, Joi. And then our website is choosejoy.co. And then for the fellas, it's blokes.co.
I love that. Any Australian reference whatsoever, or just?
We were just trying to be a little bit cheeky. And so, yeah, that's it.
I like it very, very much. Well, Katy, I am actually, got my own little mental list. I'm going to have to take a look at some of these that you offer and see if I can try them myself. Maybe the libido one might be a good one for me. My husband would love to buy it for me as a gift, probably.
I'm sure. It's
That's
on
actually a
its
really
way.
good idea, right? I mean, why not birthday gift, Valentine's Day gift? What a great thing for somebody to give somebody else that they love very, very much. So thank you so much for being on this podcast. I personally learned a lot, and I love that you and your husband worked together, that you had to go through all that you did to be able to make yourself well. And then in that process, having such a passion for making other women feel well as well. I think that says a lot about you as a person, and it was such a pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you so much. This was awesome.
You're welcome. And as always, you guys, I hope that you wake up feeling prepared and that you go to bed feeling very proud. Have a great day. Wow, we've reached the end. But before I leave you, I'd love to hear from you. After all, it's not every day that someone reaches out and asks for your opinion. And to me, your opinion does matter. So please share this episode with anyone that you think needs to hear this message. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. My name is Melissa McAllister. And until next time, thank you for being your own health advocate.